I just finished watching Hell's Paradise, well, a couple weeks ago, and I absolutely loved it, guys. Today, I'm going to be going through the entirety of Season 1 of Hell's Paradise, and again, well, not that I already said it, man, this video is already off to a fantastic start, isn't it? This is going to be a spoiler review. I'm going to go through the entirety of Season 1 and talk about what I loved. There was very little that I didn't love about this show, and I'm excited to talk about that, so here's your cue. Thank you for being here, but if you don't want to hear any spoilers, take off. We have lots of videos on the channels that I would absolutely love to see you there. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with many YouTube channels. Let's talk about Hell's Paradise. So, it starts off with this character named Gabimaru, who is a shinobi. And to be honest with you, I still don't know what a shinobi is. It's probably something for the just for the anime show or some Japanese thing that I'm not familiar with. So, he ends up escaping execution multiple times due to his inability to die, and it was they went over it very, very quickly in my opinion, and he had some past training where it kind of gave him superhuman abilities, and just whatever you do, whatever these guys do, nobody can kill this guy. So he's a criminal that is ready for execution, but nobody can actually go through with it, and Gabimaru ends up being our main character, of course. The guy it needs to be executed. They can't execute him, so we're here. We have our superhero protagonist, and it seems to be, as I'm going through like my anime show journey, it seems to be that this is a little bit of a common thing. You have this OP main character, but I actually like the way that they handled it, especially with the way some other characters are kind of introduced to him. So another thing that was mentioned is that he married the chief's daughter, and he is absolutely in love with this lady. He wants to get back to her, and we don't exactly know the full storyline to it yet, but as the series goes on, as we get into Season 1, it really seems like we're getting a little bit more hints with that. So, now we have a new interrogator named Sagiri, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. So, it's another executioner that tries to execute him, and what happens is, of course, they can't execute Gabimaru, right? So, they end up going to this new mission, or he offers Gabimaru this brand new mission. This is where the story kind of comes into play, right? Where, hey, if you go to this island and go get this elixir, this item of immortality, then you'll be pardoned. You can go love your wife, you'll be free, you won't be here for execution. Not that we could execute you, but hey, go get this for us, and hey, you'll be totally okay. And of course, we have the setup for this. And I actually didn't know anything going into this. I ever watched a trailer. I didn't know that they were going to an island of hell. I didn't know what was going to be on the island. So that's why this show was a little bit of a pleasant surprise for me. I was just looking for something to watch. One of my buddies was just like, hey, check out this Hell's Paradise show. It was really good. I'm like, okay. And then I ended up watching it. And that's what I actually really liked about it, because I had no clue about anything. Anyways, Gabimaru is excited to go on this mission because he has promised a peaceful life. He wants to go back and he wants to live life with his wife. We just keep seeing all these glimpses of this scarred faced woman that he absolutely adores, wants to get back to, and we still don't know exactly how they got split apart. As far as I know, I don't know if we know what he did to be executed. I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm just not really remembering that. But of course, he goes to this island, or he's tasked to go to the island with a bunch of death row inmates as well. So that's another thing. They all go together, and Gabimaru is going to have to learn to work with these people because they don't know exactly what they're going up against. Now, of course, before we actually get to see this mission that they go on, Gabimaru kind of needs to be shown that he's the character that nobody can be messed with, right? So we have a little bit of Sagiri's backstory and having her going through a lot of different things about her hesitation to actually go through with killing somebody. So I think that's to kind of just show what a good person she is, or she believes in second chances. I don't know, because we, of course, see a good side of Gabimaru, and she kind of has doubts along the series about Gabimaru, and like, is this guy really bad? This guy is caring. He's not just this hollow knight. I keep wanting to say hollow purple. I don't remember exactly what they called him. Maybe it'll come back to me, but she kind of starts having doubts, so I'm kind of thinking this is why we see her actually have hesitations killing people. But of course, like I said, we need to see what Gabimaru is capable of. So they have this incredible fight scene where the chief, or whoever it is, offers some riches to people who can actually kill Gabimaru. And Gabimaru, just with his hands tied, just absolutely annihilates all of them. There's 10 people left, about 10 people left. They are selected for the mission. Gabimaru is here, and each criminal is going to be accompanied by one of the officers, I guess you can say. And of course, we have Sagiri and Gabimaru coming together on this amazing mission. But what I loved about it is the way that they're going to intertwine with all of the other characters. So by the end of the second episode, what we're on right now, Sagiri realizes her struggle isn't just about killing, but accepting the responsibility for the lives that she takes. At the end of the day, she is not the same kind of killer or executioner as the people who are kind of just made out to be and heartless on the scene right now, right? Now we actually get to go on our mission, though. They actually get to go to the mission. I don't know if they actually called the island something, but it's Hell's Paradise. They're on the island of Hell, where some weird stuff awaits, man. Some weird stuff awaits. So they get there. They kind of have a little bit of fighting. Nothing really kind of comes about there. It's just some cool scenes. They're introduced to the island. The criminals don't exactly get along. So the only thing really to note at this point is Gabimaru at some point attempts to attack Sagiri, but he can't be driven to do so. He keeps getting all these flashbacks about his wife, and she kind of acts as a little bit of a guide of how Gabimaru is really supposed to be. And he kind of looks at Sagiri, I always pronounce her name wrong, and he kind of looks at her differently than everybody else that he kills. I don't know why. I don't know if there's some secret attraction level there. I don't know if it's because she reminds him of his wife, because we kind of see some similarities over there, but it's a little bit weird in my opinion. So the biggest takeaway from this, of course, is everybody realizes that Gabimaru actually still has emotions, because they were calling him hollow or something like that, right? They were calling him hollow, but of course, he does have emotions. He is completely 100% driven by the love for his wife and wanting to get back there, because there are so many times that you see him. That's the only reason he's willing to save anybody. It's the only reason why he's willing to fight. It's the only reason why he wants to go get this elixir and go back home. It's because he wants to get to his wife. And that's, of course, a very admirable trait of somebody. If I was watching somebody do that, even if they were a criminal, I'm like, at the end of the day, they're a criminal. We still don't know what Gabimaru did, right? I would have no hard feelings for that, but at least I would look at him and go, okay, you know what? You're doing this for your girl. There's a little bit of respect that way, in my opinion, right? So something else that is kind of emphasized at this point in the series, that with emotions, they become a strength instead of a weakness. And I don't know if this kind of leads into the whole Tao thing that they have going on here, but of course, I personally wholeheartedly disagree with this, because if you guys don't know, if you follow any of my other channels, I'm really involved in MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai, and the first thing that we learn is don't fight with any emotions. The people who fight angry, the people who fight sad, the people who fight really, really wanting to hurt somebody, they lose. You need to be calculated. You need to be calm. You need to be in the moment. You need to really think about what's going on. You need to rely on your instincts and not let anger consume you. I understand that anger isn't exactly something that they go into, but I'm like, oh man, that's not how you fight somebody. But of course, this is the hollow. This is Gabimaru that we're up against, right? What can I do against Gabimaru? Moving forward, though, this is the point of the series where we actually start encountering these really, really weird creatures. And the giant monsters with Buddha faces really did resemble Attack on Titan, in my opinion. I cannot unsee that. It's like those mindless titans walking around. They even had kind of the movements down. But regardless, that's not the only creatures we see. We see all of these weird creatures, and we have these crazy fight scenes. We also see other criminals actually come together to help Gabimaru and Sagiri, because they of course can't do it all on their own. There is some point where Sagiri ends up getting passed out, and the Hollow ends up just fighting out of pure instinct and drive to not only, which is surprising because he does end up wanting to save Sagiri, but he also is mainly driven just to get back to his wife. So they end up grouping up at this point with the other characters, and I apologize in advance, guys. It's just, I don't know why, but I have problems remembering these anime names. I just remember Fat Boy with Glasses, the Sweat Girl, and I don't think we reached the tree yet. I'll need to take a look at my notes, which I have jotted down. No, they don't reach the tree and the little girl yet. But they all end up working together. Everybody, they kind of come to an agreement after a little bit of arguing, like, why should I trust you and all that kind of stuff, right? They end up coming together in the fight, though, because Sagiri ends up passing out from a poisonous butterflies, and that's what caused her to faint, so they defeat everybody. She ends up waking up, and the little man with glasses ends up, he's the smart one of the group. He ends up discovering everything, and he discovers that a lot of plants on the island were former workers or former inmates or people that just got sent here, people who wanted to find the elixir. these creatures were transformed from people that were already here. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, that's kind of creepy, but that's kind of cool at the same time. And I don't know if they mentioned how he figured out that knowledge, but regardless, we then cut to another whole little scene by the other people in the series who they're kind of put there. I'm sure it'll all come full circle where everybody comes and works together, but it's kind of demonstrated the other inmates on the island that they are trying to escape, and it's just literally impossible. They keep coming across problems. It's scary. It's horrible. They encounter Keisho, I believe the name was. After that, we are treated to like an entire episode of a really, really big fight with that giant man with the mask. I don't really understand what was going on there. That's why the shows get super weird. But after this fight, after they have the entire thing, they end up working together. Gabimaru and Sagiri ends up working together. They all end up defeating the big monster here. This is where it really, really picks up, in my opinion, because we're going to get into the Tensen shortly, but now we get to the part where we actually end up arriving at that village, because this is where everything starts getting explained. But before we actually get the full explanation with this entire thing, we end up finally seeing the Tensen for the very first time with two other characters from the side series. They are just strolling around on the island and see two, and I believe at the time, because they keep changing the Tensen, right? They're men, then they're women, but I believe it was two women just completely naked, making out, and I was like, oh my god, that's so strange. And what's funny, actually, is I was watching this in bed, and my wife happened to wake up in the middle of it, and I was like, yeah, I don't know what I'm watching right now. Because it was like, they were like so into it, right? It was like, it's one of those like, I was hoping that this wasn't turning into like one of those Fire Force type animes. Thank God that it didn't end up in it. I kind of find it really fascinating the way they really, the way they go about really creating a Tensen. But that's the first way we see it, and the episode ends up ending right there. We're then greeted to the next episode where these two people stop making out, and then they just see the humans as intruders to their paradise. I'm guessing this is the entire part of Hell's Paradise, right? The Tensen sees humans as intruders to the paradise that they are creating, right? So we see them kind of just acknowledge them, right? We have a little bit of a break, but then we also have the group over with Gabimaru, and they actually discover that young girl with powerful abilities, but we don't exactly know what it is. I didn't know what to think at the time when I first saw her, because she ended up like punching Gabimaru in the gut, just taken off, but she ended up being protected by a large wooden being, kind of like, I don't remember the name, I'm just going to call him Groot, right? So Gabimaru ends up fighting them for a little bit. They defeat them, and the Groot being, offers to finally take them over to that village. He's like, I'm sorry, like everything's okay, right? He ends up actually being a good guy, but at the time I didn't know if I really wanted to trust him. So at that village, he ends up feeding them, bathing them. We have that classic anime show scene, right? You have Sagiri and the sweaty girl end up getting in the bath, right? Everybody's been having a good time, but she ends up feeding him. Gabimaru doesn't want to be fed at all, doesn't trust him, because Gabimaru is the only one with a head on his shoulders. I don't know if I would have even went there in the first place, but I guess if you're like on an island of hell after all the killing that you've seen, maybe you take your chances there. Maybe. So they end up explaining what's going on with the divisions of the island. I actually had to write this down because I forget exactly how it is. The island is divided into Ishu, shore and forest, Hojo, village, and Horai, central misty region where the elixir Tan is located, inhabited by the godlike Tensen who are immortal. There was no way I'd remember that. I didn't remember it in the show. I knew I had to have that jotted down, but it's crazy. So we finally then cut to the Tensen, because we actually got a little bit of an introduction to them, and they end up they stop kissing. They see the humans as intruders. They just absolutely annihilate them and turn them into flowers. So this is where we're starting to put the pieces together. You die, you become flowers. It's explained by Groot that you over time become kind of part of this Hell's Paradise type thing. You become a monster. You become controlled. You turn into flowers, which is really, really weird. And in the show, it's called the Source of Tan, which is really weird. We're then have a little bit of a break after getting explained all that, where Sagiri encourages Gabimaru to bathe and relax. And of course, we have the entire scene where he's still uncomfortable. He's in the bath. He recalls his wife. He ends up preparing for battle. He doesn't know what's next. He's ready. He needs to take on these Tensen. He wants to get the elixir. He wants to get back into his wife. And he really doesn't want to waste this time right now. And I kind of understand Gabimaru's perspective. If I was on there, I wouldn't want to be taking a bath. I wouldn't be taking a bath from Groot at all. I'd be like, Who are you? I don't want to get in this dirty water. I don't care. I'll stink, man. I'll stink. I would not trust him as far as I could throw. I wouldn't trust the little girl. I just would not trust them one little bit. We then take a pause from Gabimaru's group, and we have an entire episode about a character called Tensen, and we have that whole other group right there. To be honest with you, I thought they were all going to die, but they end up going up against another Tensen member, kind of just showing the entire power of the Tensen. You behead him, he regenerates, nothing you can do. It's scary, it's creepy, it's really well done. I love the way that they kind of built up the Tensen for this entire thing, but they have an entire fight scene episode. Now, the one character, and I apologize again, guys, I hope this isn't really hurting your viewer experience, but the one character, Tensen, ends up sacrificing himself for the other two, and he ended up having this crazy, crazy war with one of the members of the Tensen. And again, I believe that this was kind of just shown to just kind of show about what the Tensen are and prepare for a eventual fight with Gabimaru. And I think I'm a little bit right in that sense, because in the next episode, Gabimaru ends up just not liking at all that everybody's relaxing, bathing, and eating, and he goes to just want to go take on one of the Tensen. He goes, hey, if we're here, we need to defeat the Tensen. So I kind of like that, to be honest with you, but he ends up reaching that same Tensen who just killed the other two, and I'm like, oh man, here we go. This is going to be a crazy, crazy battle, and honestly, it was a crazy battle. And in this moment, Gabimaru was kind of realizing how powerful the Tensen are, but he's still determined. He's having flashbacks of his wife. He's having that, like, main character thing where he's like, I have to do everything I can to win. He was analyzing the situation here. Gabimaru, in desperation, towards a little bit of the end of the fight, ended up launching a bunch of rapid attacks that ended up actually defeating the Tensen there, or seemingly defeating the Tensen, because this is where it got super weird. The Tensen ended up forming into like a monster that was a plant at the same time. This thing that was absolutely massive. And they kind of laugh, where it's like, oh my god, you think you can defeat me? But we then later figure out that that's kind of like a backup plan for the Tensen. I don't know why they shouldn't be using that, but it's kind of hinted that like you shouldn't use it. I don't know if it's also like, oh my god, shame you lost in your original form. Shame you had to go into that giant monster. Maybe that's what it was, but it seemed from an outside perspective that it's something to kind of look down upon, to be honest with you. So he's about to die, Gabimaru, and the little girl ends up rescuing him. She forms a little ball around him. They get attacked, and she just kind of gets saved. That's pretty much the gist of it there. When Gabimaru kind of comes together with all of it, he ends up meeting two more criminals that are actually way, way better, but they don't have the energy to fight each other. They know they have the Tensen to defeat, and they all kind of make up. They show each other what they're capable of. They banter back and forth a little bit, but ultimately they do end up agreeing to work together. So Gabimaru and the little girl ended up having a couple more friends to go up against the Tensen with, and honestly, I really like the addition of these two characters. Apologies if, I'm sure as the series goes on, I'll remember their names. It's an anime thing. I know I'm dumb. I'm sorry. We're then taken back to a fight with the Tensen, and of course, the little girl ends up speaking in code. She starts saying like strong, weak, and she's hinting towards Tao, and that is kind of the entire power level of the series. To be honest with you, I didn't understand it all of that much. It's just like, I think it's just an anime thing where there's just like, they're trying to find their true power, so you can see the energy within someone and kind of manipulate it. Again, if you want to argue with it, to be honest with you, it's staying calm, understanding your body, fight how you're supposed to fight. And before that, we learned this absolutely disgusting thing that the Tensen want this little girl back because they want to, do something not so kid-friendly with her, which is disgusting. Gabimaru ends up going, okay, we're protecting this little girl. Everybody's disgusted by it. They actually end up having a little bit of a funny banter back and forth where it's like, okay, we know why you want this one, creep, which is obviously, again, absolutely disgusting. So throughout this, Mai's her name. Excuse me. Mai ends up teaching in so subtly Gabimaru how to use Tao, and he starts seeing all the Tensen movements, and with a very, very long fight, we actually end up defeating the monster, or seemingly defeating the monster. We still don't exactly know how to kill them, but it seems like that they're dead for good. I just have, and this is the other one that we're going to be talking about because there is another fight to be talked about over here. I am not confident that these Tensen are actually dead. Maybe they become one with the earth. Maybe they regenerate. I don't exactly know. I don't even know if the elixir is a real thing. Super, super weird to think about. But of course, we end up having Gabimaru unlock more superpowers as the main character. He understands Tao. He ends up using it to win the big battle that he needs to win. After that, though, we are brought back to another really epic battle. In my opinion, this one was way better with Sagiri and the sweaty girl and the little fat guy who was really smart. I thought that fight was absolutely phenomenal. They go up to like this little throne-ish area. They take on the Tensen. They go in, and a lot of it's just really, really a lot of battle that I can't really dissect. He ends up transforming after a phenomenal, phenomenal fight scene. The little fat guy ends up saving Sweaty Girl by getting in front of a lethal blow. He ends up dying, and that was actually a really, really heartfelt moment because he was dying in the hands of somebody he admires. And this is where I actually ended up liking the other girl because she seemed caring. You know, I understand that it's like a little bit simpish behavior what he did, but at the end of the day, it's very noble of him. Very noble, right? There's a couple ways you could look at that, to be honest, but it was just a really, really heartfelt moment, to be honest with you. They ended up actually defeating the Tensen. There was a little bit of hope in there, but the Tensen did say that the elixir does not exist. It's made up, just like the religion, and the Groot guy ended up dying. It was a little bit before, but there's no afterlife that they all pray to. It's just very, very confusing how this entire island works so far. After that really heartfelt moment, they get over it pretty quickly, and they all kind of come together, and they all agree to, no matter what, work together to defeat the hell that's on this island, get out safely, everybody's safe and sound, no matter what. Past doesn't matter, who you are doesn't matter. They end up needing to work together, so it looks like we're having a solid foundation for a team moving forward. But this is where it gets really, really confusing. And I ask you guys because I ask you not to spoil this for me. I'm really enjoying this series. If I'm not supposed to know, I'm not supposed to know, so don't explain it. Actually, you know what? Don't explain it to me, okay? I want to figure it out. This really confusing part because Gabimaru ends up waking up in a cave, okay? He doesn't remember his wife. He doesn't remember why he's there. He doesn't remember the people that he just built this amazing, amazing relationship, right? Before that, Sagiri ended up questioning the relationship with Gabimaru, and apparently there was something about deception when it comes to the wife. I'm kind of thinking along the lines, and I might be way off here. I'm thinking that Gabimaru is a little bit of a tool. Somehow his thoughts were influenced. His wife actually might not exist, and that would explain why everybody's talking about him being this heartless man, right? But if you infiltrate his mind somehow, if you give him this motivation of somebody that you love to fight for a woman, that is more motivation than anybody could possibly have, right? Not, I want to get this, not, I want to do this, not, I want riches. No, I want to go to the woman that's for me. That is more motivation for anybody than ever. And it's a little bit like weird because he wakes up, he doesn't know who he's with. He pretends to know because he doesn't want anybody to see that he's weak. He seems heartless. He doesn't remember his wife. That's where I'm lost. And that's why I'm really, really interested, because that way, maybe we're going to get some further development. Well, we obviously will get some further developments with Gabimaru, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he ends up linking back up with Sagiri. He's going to pretend not to know her, but Sagiri's going to be happy to see him because they built this wonderful relationship over here. And they may even be setting up a love story between the two, because I think that what they were saying was the wife doesn't exist. Somehow he was influenced. His mind was infiltrated somehow. That's my guess. But this season was really good, man. This season was really good. I find it fascinating the way the island works. I find it fascinating that you die, you come to life as flowers. I like that you change over time. I like the deception in everybody's beliefs on the island. I like that there are some good people on the island. I love the idea for the Tensen. As weird and freaky as it is, it's unique. It's something we've never seen before. And this entire show is strange, but it has captivated me so much. I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to discover what happens with Gabimaru. And again, I'm not going to read the books. I'm going to wait for the English version of the anime show to come out. So I ask that you guys in the comment section do not spoil this for me. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you thought about Season 1 in particular down below. I appreciate you being here. Check out this video on screen right now, guys. Take care.